I want to start today's video off with just this kind of PSA, in a way, public service announcement. I'm going to always be conflicted when it comes to the concept of leaks in any video game, because as a dev myself, the real gift that we as players give the developers is our excitement. It's our thrill of what they are sharing, the hard work that they're doing behind the scenes that goes unrewarded month over month, year over year, to finally to be able to present what they've been working so hard on, and the excitement in response from the fans. That's the gift we give developers, and that's why I will always be hesitant to talk about leaks here on this channel and any channel that I talk about video games. But I want to say that because now the other side of the coin is, well, people are talking about this, and I think this is a part of the conversation. I can hopefully weigh in with some of my expertise, some of my insight, and to hopefully help try to, in a way, tamp down expectations so that this leak doesn't become a set of false promises that the devs themselves never intended to make. I think the most critical path for New World, we've talked about it in many different degrees, but all of those degrees follow under what I'm about to say's umbrella, and it's trust. A roadmap represents the opportunity to gain or to lose trust. And so when a leak like this comes about, the information like this comes about, it has the capacity to get us excited, but also it could set a false sense of promises that the devs never said, and we could end up holding it against them. So if you guys are okay, we're going to dive into the content. I'm going to give you guys my perspective from what I feel, what kind of makes sense, and we're going to have a really great conversation. But note, this isn't the devs promising anything to us. However, this is also something that I think makes complete and total sense. And so with that intro under our belts, hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name's Brian if you're new around here. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year to you, and double Happy New Year to subscribers. And we're going to have a great video today. If you guys feel like these videos earn it, hitting that like button is a great way of helping it out in the algorithm. And as a thank you for doing so, here's a picture of Isabella. I don't know why I chose her, but she's the one who we picked. That's what you get, and that's a thank you so much for supporting these videos algorithmically. But now we got a lot to talk about. We got to talk about the expansion, what is being leaked to be included, and overall my thoughts kind of on each bullet point item. All right, so the first piece of this video, this topic, is going to be about the expansion. A paid expansion to me has always been the most logical solution. I feel like I'm summoning I'm summoning my inner Spock with this topic. The reason why I feel like it's the most logical conclusion is that when you look at games like Destiny and ESO, they have a yearly subscription. They just ask for it all as a part of their expansion and battle pass style content. I can't speak directly to exactly how ESO runs. They do have the optional sub. I'm aware of that. But when it comes down to all of those pieces together, I've always expected that New World would follow an expansion, a paid expansion model. Now, there's still the chance that they decide to make this free, but I want AGS to make money on New World. I want them to be successful with New World. I love New World. More money, more game, more Brian being happy with his time investment in this MMO. So I'm not against a paid expansion. I think that makes the most logical conclusion. Now, when we start to go through the bullet point list of this, let me throw some shade or some doubt onto what is included. Not necessarily saying that I don't want it to happen or that it won't happen, but if I was going to say that there was anything in here that kind of maybe lowers the validity of it happening to me personally, it would be a couple of these items. Now, I think the best way to hide a lie is with the truth. So when it comes down to it, like we talk about new zones, new weapons, new expeditions, new character customizations, that in and of itself is guaranteed as a part of an expansion. Cross server, everything, they've already confirmed that in the latest dev update. Not dev update, but the return to Eternum, the Returniums, where they get together with the devs and talk about it. So yes, they're going for cross server everything, and they're walking through it. First, it's going to be the OPR, and then everything. So this in and of itself makes sense. Obviously, new MSQ, cinematics, etc. basically makes sense. And so several of these items feel like easy wins and enough to maybe hide the lie, if there is a lie, right? And that's where I want to kind of talk about the remote islands and boat system with its open seas non-instance PvP mode. So first and foremost, this would be kick-ass, right? I think this would be really cool. This also kind of in a way sounds like a little bit of what Ashes' creation has, shared with us, right? So I've often speculated and wondered, especially like, hey, as Ashes communicates the things they're doing, they can't copyright ideas. So it would be interesting to see if like anybody who's watching video games is like, hey, could we build something like that? And what would it look like in our game? And so essentially them kind of building in this kind of system, I think that would be interesting. However, when we start talking about non-instance PvP mode, like if you go into this, is everybody flagged? And if everybody's flagged, like what's the incentive to use it? Because that's what they're struggling with the PvP in the open world currently. But let's talk about this entire list here in full. So they state completely overhaul territory control, faction versus faction wars, and risk versus reward open world PvP. They've been working on it, so this is known. We know that part 1, I guess, or part 2 or 3, however we want to part these things, is happening as a part of the roadmap, as a part of the spring update, and I think that's going to be continually overhauled. But this really does also kind of marry with crossover everything. If you're going to be able to play wherever and you're not going to have to worry about server queues and what world you're really on, and really when you think about it as drop in, drop out multiplayer, updating territory control, open worlds, factions, and all that, I don't want them to get rid of those. I think those are beautiful systems. The sandbox system in and of itself is a great way of incentivizing and holding players over month over month, year over year, with a kind of having a stake in the game, the sandbox stake of the players really driving the narrative. So I think those are important. Now, new arena and OPR maps, single queue, not splitting players, rotating maps like in Overwatch. I think that's what players want. They talked about, their concern with adding in new maps. Then the risk ends up becoming you not getting a map that you want. Do you drop out, or is it off a timer? That's going to be something interesting we'll have to see. So even if all these things are true, there's so much more that we can learn from it. Now, overall, combat for PvE only. I love that they're investing more in the PvE aspect of this game. While I do like PvP and will advocate for the PvP players in the community always, I think that PvE also, like numerically and ratio wise, there is a greater demand for PvE content, and New World devs have really delivered great PvE content. I cannot wait to see what they do with the raid. I think that's going to be interesting. Now, this adds endgame specialization in a primary secondary weapon that allows the use of 6 skills per weapon. So if we were talking about spot the lie, this very well could be it, swarming everything with truth. Now the UI changes back to the current UI combat when flagged for PvP, uses a lengthy and epic quest line to unlock. This would be horizontal content, especially if you get 3 abilities, and if you want more than 3, you got to do this epic quest line. I'm all for that. I would rather have a system like that really lets the player invest in their character as opposed to just giving everything away. But you guys can let me know where you fall on that topic. Now, as we progress on down the list, event-based open world raid bosses that unlock sequentially and dynamically based off the player interaction and outcomes, this would be epic. In fact, actually, one of the things that feels really cool about their current seasonal model is these kind of fights, is these kind of storylines. And if they could make that into kind of a living, breathing aspect of the world, kind of driving a narrative to a degree, because they sit here and say completely new lore tied to open world raid bosses and events. That would be cool. Now, I think what I want to see for the future of this game and an expansion is more inspiration from Guild Wars 2. Like the event-driven system that they have that kind of tells stories as they go along, but also gives you extra things that you can be doing in the world outside of kind of the portals, that they have currently. I think would be really exciting to see. And we can see them starting to experiment with some of that stuff already in the game with the updates that rolled out over this last fall. Now, this then ties back into everything I've said, but here I want to focus in on 2 key items. Mount system with its own profession, swimming with its own underwater profession. Great. If they're going to add it, make it meaningful, make it have impact. Don't, for the love of goodness, give me flying. I wouldn't mind a glider. I'm going to keep talking about gliders because I think that is something that would really be cool in this game. You could give a mount that glides if that's how you wanted to do it, but nothing where you're just like lifting off and flying. Flying ends up becoming this sense of God mode in these games. It ends up destroying a lot of what makes them very unique. Sure, it's convenient. Sure, you might beg for it, but I think ultimately it kind of really costs more than people are willing to kind of admit. And ultimately, when they quit games, they'll quit because of maybe of flying. So I think that as long as we don't have flying, I'm okay with mounts, especially as it relates to new zones. You know, like as the world gets bigger, you know, mounts would be kind of cool. Adding an extra level of collection and trophy, you know, piece to the game. And swimming is fine. I'm not necessarily pro swimming. I know it's a big item for a lot of people. But as long as it has something that you can do, that you can work on, that you can level up, and a reason to do it, that it takes you, you know, to places you can never have gone before, then cool, let's do it. Let's, you know, and let's make it fun. Let's make it fun, I think, is the real key takeaway that I want to stress right there. We talked about cross server. We talked about the remote island boat system. Cool. Like that could be really cool if it is introduced, as well as what you would expect that comes along with an expansion. Now, there's things here that aren't listed that I'd like to see. XP at level cap. Honestly, if they don't increase the level cap with an expansion, I'm all for that as well. You don't need a level cap to make meaningful, both horizontal and even to a degree vertical progression. But I'd like to see them take kind of a pass at that. Even at the expertise system, I like how they have the umbral shard system, you know, to a degree. And I think they could probably marry expertise and umbral in an interesting way, feeding in XP, like giving you a meaningful progression no matter what you're doing is important, as well as having the joy of that random RNG progression that comes in on top of it to really kind of round everything out. Static and random, static and RNG, they have to be married. You can't have 100% RNG progression. Otherwise, you're going to end up frustrating a lot of people. And I actually plan to talk about that in my next Blue Protocol video, which I hopefully will be going up at the same time or day as this one. Hopefully, you guys look forward to that video. But that's going to be it, guys, for this video in and of itself. Those are my thoughts. I think there's a lot to be excited about, a lot to love about the future of New World in 2023. It doesn't say the expansion is going to be coming out this year. If this is at all true, and if it does, even more power to them. But regardless, at leaks and whatnot, we're going to have a great year, a great time for New World. Thanks so much for being here on this journey with me. If this is a video that gets you to subscribe, sound off in the comments below. Let me know so I can officially welcome you to the channel. Head up the links in Discord for Twitch and Discord. The description is what I meant to say. To get a part of the community and get involved and come hang out and come play. It's going to be about a lot of games this year, a lot of playtime this year, a lot of hanging out and just talking and getting to know each other. And, you know, in a more, you know, we're adults, we got lives, we're busy. But whenever we can sit down to play games, it's really great to play with people who you like to hang out with. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. But until then, take care.